Now I'll move on to tell you something about the parties' rights and interests in a tenancy or a lease. Now, for example, if a developer, say, obtain an estate from the government, which lasts for example, 50 years, then the developer has to create a lease in favor of a tenant for 3 years. That means that after the expiry of current tenancy, then the landlord will regain possession of the estate or the land. Now, this right of the landlord to take back the land upon the expiry of the tenancy, we call it a reversionary interest. That means that, say, the original estate is 50 years, and carve out 3 years of lease. That means the reversionary interest in possession of the landlord is 47 years, which will say will be back to the landlord upon the expiry of the tenancy. Now, just bear in your mind that if a landlord under a tenancy does not have reversionary interest, then the tenancy created this amount, the same effect as a sale. So a sale created when a landlord create a lease, for example, making use of the very same example I make use of just now. If a landlord create a lease for 50 years, that means the landlord has no reversionary interest. Then the lease is a sale, not a lease. Now, under a tenancy agreement, what does a tenant gain? By making use of the example, then under the 3 years lease, then the tenant has the exclusive right of possession within the 3 years, which means that the tenant is exactly the same as a landlord. I'm talking about within the 3 years. So that means within the 3 years, the tenants can deal with the estate. I'm talking about the 3 years estate in whatever manner he likes. But most of the time, when the landlord create a tenancy, the landlord will impose some requirement, which certainly allows the tenant exclusive right of possession, but not to the extent of, say, affecting the landlord's right of the land. For example, if the tenant wants to sublease the property to another person under the 3 years tenancy, which we call it sublet. Now, by virtue of the very nature of a tenancy, a tenant can do that. However, to do so may affect the landlord's right. For example, when the tenant creates a subtenant, then the landlord has no control over the terms of the subtenancy. And that would affect the landlords when, say, the subtenant doing something which causing damages to the property, but once the landlord unable to locate the tenant, I'm talking about the head tenant. Now, so in such a case, quite often in modern days, in the tenancy agreement, the landlord will expressly stated in the tenancy agreement or the lease that the tenant is not allowed to sublet the property without his prior consent. Now, other than creating a subtenancy, the tenant may also part with his possession only. That means the creation of a license. I will let you know later on the concept of license in more details.